Ah, the Dungeon Master's Guide. Truly a sight to behold. It is the Bible for all things knowledgeable, definite, powerful, and adventurous. It holds within it relics, magics, creatures and tables, the laws of a universe we who dwell in it only scratch the surface of. Dare we open this legendary text and look inside? As always, I say yes. I dedicate this to John Stauffer, who has graciously given me his whole collection back in the day, when there was still a young DM trying to become a master. And to Gary Gygax, the original DM, truly a unique man amongst mortals. Inside the DMG, you'll find a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Things that are so complex, things that are used to justify every little action in the advanced Dungeons & Dragons game. It's truly a tome well worth reading. However, something that I cannot properly give justice. Long before the advanced title was stripped from Dungeons & Dragons, there was a plethora of rules. As we all know, D&D has gotten simpler and simpler as time has continued on. But back in the early days, it was a complex mythos, forcing one to go and memorize pages upon pages of diagrams, statistics, charts. Everything you could ever imagine was written and set in stone. But that's enough of all that serious shit. Let's start drinking, and let me give you my version of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide. Yep, I was not kidding. This book is a behemoth. At 240 pages, it is filled with charts, tables, graphs, everything. The art in here is minimalistic. It only serves as a tiny buffer between chapters and pages. Your chapters using the standard dictionary setup where it just has the topic at the top right. As you can see, my uncle had marked most of the important pages in highlighter. And anything that he could not mark down easily, he actually wrote a set of rules. I'll tell you what, this shit right here, these rules were written like, I swear to God, in the 90s or late 80s. I just want to go and show you how dense this can really get. So, from the text side, you can see that most of this is done with bold and colons to separate out sides and sections. The text starts getting tinier and tinier the farther it goes on, and you can see on like a normal book, this would be about a page, maybe like that. So you've slapped on 4 pages worth of content on a single page. This is a thick-ass book, and it covers everything. Let me hurry and show you. Got your preface, credits, introduction, the game, approaches to playing, dice, the use of miniatures, aiding playing Dungeons & Dragons, creating a player character, generating ability scores, non-player character, the effects of wishes on ability scores, characteristics for non-player characters, player characteristics on non-professional skills, starting level of experience for player characters, character age, aging, disease, and death, character age, aging, unnatural aging, disease, and death. Character abilities, explanation of abilities, character races, player races, and racial tendencies. Character classes, followers for upper-level characters, including the Paladin's Warhorse, Spying, Thieves ability, Thieves and Assassins setting traps, Assassination experience points, Assassin's use of poison, the monster as a player, and lycanthropy. We go into alignment. Alignment, armor, money, hirelings, henchmen, time, character spells, spell examinations, explanations, the adventure. Alright, different kinds of combat, aerial, water, underwater, infravision, invisibility, mirrors detecting good and evil, combat, further actions, etc. We go all the way down to the explanation of hit points. alcohol and drugs, insanity. This book, I'm shitting you not. Let's look at these page numbers, okay? You can see that a lot of this stuff is literally spaced not even 10 pages away from each other. From top to bottom, page 50 to 89. I told you there's 240 pages, right? This index takes up like 5 of it. This is a really thick book, and it's well put together and well made, despite the complexity of the information it contains. Now you're going to get a lot of mixed information from me, because on one hand, as a literature grad, I can appreciate the time and effort put into such an epic work as this. But on the other hand, as a gamer, the rules are a little hectic and hard to go and fully comprehend. So you're going to hear me say that it's an excellent book and it's a really shitty book, and I just want you guys to know it's excellent in the way it is presented and written. It's shitty in the way that the rules are so concrete that sometimes when they don't mesh, they leave glaring, obvious gaps, which have become apparent as Dungeons & Dragons go on. Hence, the lack of more concrete rules as we move into deeper editions. Alright, I'm a halfling rogue. I come across a door. It has a lock on it, and it's locked. But before I try to pick it, I'm going to listen at the door. What table do I use for that? Right here. What the hell did I say I was? A halfling? So I have a 3 in 20 chance of hearing a noise. What does that mean? Well, let's see here. Keen-eared individuals get a bonus. Hearing a noise. So, look, this is just listening at a door. Okay, it goes into a detailed explanation of what the action listening at doors means. Like this simple 3 words, explanation. What about silent things? Clearly the undead are fucking silent as shit. They don't even have to breathe. Bugbears 2, I guess, in early editions. Sleeping shit, blah blah blah. How many people can listen? About 2.5 inches of space. So 3 listeners on a typical door. So I really like how crazy this gets. So just imagine for a moment that it's the 1970s and nothing like this has quite been made before. Now, most of the games that you're used to have very concrete rules. You play Monopoly. Monopoly has some pretty concrete rules. If it didn't, people would abuse the bank and blow up the economy in 2006 housing market crash. So you're writing the shit out of this book. And it's, I don't know, you gotta write a really thick book. I don't, my whole point of this little conversation, this little piece of the video is that games of the time were very concrete. This was the first, role-playing game where it was adult pretend. And as time goes on, like I keep saying, the rules wear thinner and thinner and get blurrier and blurrier until Munchkinning is available. I hate Munchkinning. I could rant, but I won't for you. Munchkinning is a bane on any storyteller's existence. He just wants to go and tell a cool story. He doesn't need someone fucking throwing some obscure-ass rule or saying the book doesn't have the right wording for some stupid thing that the guy never thought of. You know? So, Munchkinning ruins games. Fuck you. That's the end of that. So, I think this is like a precursor to eliminating Munchkinning, because you didn't know how complex you had to make the rules. You didn't know all your bases you had to cover. I mean, how many listeners can you fit at a door? That's actually a fucking valid thing to put there. I mean, it may seem ridiculous, but stop to think about it. You got like a party of, I don't know, I've had like 12 people in a single game before. How many people can sit there at a fucking door and listen to it? Do they generate noise by listening at the door?
What happens if they lean on the door? Will the door just open? What if there's traps? How many of them get hit? What happens when they open the door? How many fall? Or how many have to make a dexterity check? Now these are things luckily Advanced Dungeons & Dragons doesn't quite tackle specifically about doors, though I'm sure there's rules written about whatever you're propping yourself up against suddenly falling away. But it's something that we as DMs have grown accustomed to just winging it. I'm a big fan of winging it. You know what? I don't know what the fucking monster is. I'm gonna roll a bunch of D8s and I'm gonna fucking give them one special power that like sucks half your soul out, or maybe it'll cut off your arm and put it on him. That'd be a pretty awesome monster, actually. Chops off the limbs of his victims and puts them on himself. Yeah. Anyway, my God, that'd be like an advanced flesh golem. My whole point being that this effectively prevents munchkinning. The amount of detail in here, but at the expense of playability. If you ever find yourself playing with munchkins, you need to like actively think ahead of how to thwart their stupid munchkinning shit. My number one tip is just be obvious. Just be like, yeah, good job. You conned the guy out of all of his money. You also got all of his equipment. But you knew he was a city guard when you did this, and he gave you city guard established shit. So you're not going to be able to resell any of it because it all has the city crest on it, and no one's going to be buying a city guard half plate because you had to have killed a city. It's not your property. It's like, think about if you're in the military. You can't just fucking sell your uniform and your badges and shit to people. I mean, technically you can, but I mean, there's repercussions. There's things people don't think about. What are those repercussions? It's up to you to make those repercussions. And Gary Gygax took it to that step. He babied everybody with these super complex rules to make it so we understood some dangers that he initially encountered. So as time went on and the rules slowly loosened up, I mean, it's a shame he died and then 4th edition came out. But 3rd edition and 3.5, you know, he really let up on those rules. 5th edition even does it. 5th edition says a hostile creature and then doesn't define what a hostile creature is. Is it someone who's just thinking, hey, I could just mug the shit out of you and steal all your shit? Is it a guy with a weapon drawn who's defending himself against you? Or, like, what is it? Well, it's up to the DM and his gut feeling. Speaking of which, I really like Geist the Sin Eater for the Kerberoy. That's for another video, though.
Did anybody play the Star Wars pen and paper game? Where they had like these near miss hit points and like the critical hit points? I think it was inspired by this paragraph. That hit points don't represent how much of a beating your character can take, but rather his ability to avoid such damage from being a mortal wound. Gary Gygax calls it a sixth sense in which unforeseen events, sheer luck, and fantastic provisions of magical protections and or divine protection prevent 4 hit points of damage that would slay a normal hero from slaying an experienced hero. In the end, the sword thrust is the same lethality. The 4 hit points represents the user's effective ability of using the sword. A clumsy oaf with an axe can kill you, but if you're really strong, a clumsy oaf with an axe is going to take a couple more tries before he manages to beat the shit out of you. And I think it's interesting that you can find such points of this as this in this book. Woo, that was fucking bright. Why'd that light turn on? Remember Call of Cthulhu? Well, here you go. Call of Cthulhu, already included. It covers a whole bunch of different types of mental disorders. Look at that crazy shit. You could be a schizoid. Remember when people used to call each other that? Nah, that was the 80s. You're alright, son. Another quick footnote I would like to make for all of you newbies out there that have never heard of anything other than 3.5, Pathfinder, that one we don't speak about, and 5th edition.
First edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons did not have base attack bonus / THAC0. It had THAC0, but it was based on your level, not on your class, which was added later in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And you also have to go and think about, how was experience points handled in this first edition? How do you measure, like physically, how much experience someone deserves? Is it by the amount of shit he kills, the amount of blocks he picks? Like, what is the actual amount? Well, in this edition, it is by treasure taken. Treasure taken is pretty ingenious when you stop to think about it. I mean, we're gonna get all like 14-year-old girl writing in her diary, but I mean, you're gonna pick someone's pocket, treasure taken. You're gonna go kill a man, treasure taken. You're gonna go and brave a whole bunch of traps and get in a room, treasure taken. Treasure taken is not a bad way to measure something like that. Now we've kind of eliminated the middleman because, I mean, treasure and experience points? It's a little much. So now we've eliminated the fact that you require treasure to gain experience, and instead there's their own separate rewards. But in the beginning, this was an interesting concept. Oh hey bro, I heard you didn't like the fact that I said you use treasure. That's okay, Gygax thought of this. Alright, so what you do is you take the experience for the monsters slain, totaled, then you divide it by the surviving party members, no matter how insignificant. Then you get that. Let's see. Don't like that system, or don't know how to go and give experience based on a monster's hit die? Well, here you go. There's their base experience, multiplied by their hit points, multiplied by their special abilities, multiplied by their exceptional special abilities. So, what does that mean? It means that experience tables weren't provided in the DMG, you fool! It means that, I mean, it was. What I meant to say was the monster manual. The monster manual didn't have like a little parentheses, this guy's worth blankety blank fucking experience, or this guy has a challenge rating of blank. Everything was based off of hit dice in second edition. In first edition, there was just raw stats. Yeah, you can't even focus on it. That's exactly how your eyes are going to get when you wake up fucking passed out from midnight readings of this book trying to figure out how the hell you're going to run your first adventure. So, the TLDR on this, the DMG for first edition is very valuable for players that are well versed in their art. It is a Bible in the sense that it contains all of the valuable information and lore and history required to play D&D. And when I say required, I actually mean that very, very loosely. Nothing's truly required beyond a basic understanding of the rules that you can just bullshit the rest off of. Advanced D&D, it's a great game. Like I said, I prefer second edition. But I think for anyone curious about how it all started, or where the basic concepts came from, this is an important place. Just as if you are a Christian, you must understand the Jewish Bible / Old Testament / whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, you should probably go and look into this. This is the Old Testament of D&D, and unfortunately, second edition strips out a lot of these golden properties, more in favor of it just being a reference, which most Dungeon Master guides afterwards follow suit with surprisingly good results. I'm proud to say that the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide is way too in-depth rather than under-depth, where the second edition one's way too shallow, but they find their stride eventually. But that's for another video. Until then, my friends, thank you for tuning in, for watching, and just in general, making my channel something fun to go and do on the side. You all have a great rest of your day, and if you do have a chance, I swear to God, these books are cheap as dirt. Like, I want to say like $15. I picked up a huge amount of D&D books, but like I said, a majority of my beginning books were gifts from my Uncle John. And I love him a bunch. He's not dead. Don't think that he's dead. But By the way, Sapporo is very sweet for some reason. Ugh. So, bye.